Hey, this is Bobby Jensen of Bobby Jensen and the Dead Cowboys, and we're talking about rock on Talking About Rock.
All right, today's guest has been captivating audiences for over 3 decades, from grand concert halls to large clubs and arenas with various Kiss tribute bands. And for 20 years, he was the lead singer of HAIRBALL. With his current band, Bobby Jensen, the Dead Cowboys, he's preparing to hit the road in 2026. Here to chat with us about the track and the new animated video for The Lake, let's welcome Bobby Jensen. Bobby, how are you, man?
I am great, greater than all of you. No, I'm just serious now. No, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, definitely, man. So for quite a few years, you were the singer for HAIRBALL, which is a tribute band to many of the rock arena greats.
Yeah.
Tour in North America, you did appearances on MTV, performed at Kiss conventions, but now you decided to revisit a project you started years earlier called the Dead Cowboys, now known as Bobby Jensen and the Dead Cowboys.
Yeah. With HAIRBALL, we played Mexico, and we went over to England and played there. We didn't do any Kiss conventions with that band. When I was in Strutter and Kiss Army in the 90s, we were playing the Kiss conventions. And then I was impersonating Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons in HAIRBALL, in which you may have seen my hair on fire at one time in a video.
Yeah, that was a viral clip. I think everybody's probably caught that at least once, right?
It's still going. It just happened, I think it was 5 years ago, and just the other day I saw at least 20 different clips of it. And man, that thing's still alive and well, which, is it's a great thing. As Alice Cooper once said to me, he goes, I've got the chicken in the audience, Gene has the hair fire, and now so do you,
Yeah. And you kept performing that. I think that was the best part of it. The show must go on, and you kept singing even though they're putting you out,
Well, it was a Ricky Bobby moment. A lot of people will say, oh, he was lip syncing, that's why he didn't stop, or it was a wig. It wasn't a wig. If it was a wig, I would have just taken it off and threw it to the side. What idiot's going to stand there with his head on fire wearing a wig that's going to melt to his head? That's kind of a stupid thought. But the reality was, had I gone running around, how would they have caught me and put me out? That's the Ricky Bobby thing. I'm on fire and running around. It's like, if I just stand still, they'll come to me. So I figured while I'm standing here, I might as well keep singing the song,
Yep. And so tell us, what made you decide here to revisit this earlier project now, the Dead Cowboys?
Well, I'd had enough of HAIRBALL for 20 years, and COVID came around, and it was a perfect excuse to move along and do something else. And not to mention that there's now a HAIRBALL on every corner. And when we started, there wasn't anybody doing what we were doing. But now you go to any town and there's a band wearing wigs and playing Sweet Child of Mine. And it's like, well, let's leave while the party was hot, kind of like Seinfeld did. We're on top. It wasn't going to get any better than it had. Excuse me. We had all the guys from Kiss and Rob Halford and all these people come sing for the band. It was never going to get better than that ever again. So it was time to go, that was pretty cool. Now let's see what else is out there. And in the beginning days of HAIRBALL, the guitar player and I had a group called the Dead Cowboys, and it was all covers. And we just kind of looked like zombie cowboys, the whole band. There's just 4 of us. And we made the stage look like an old ghost towny type of thing, and old wood fence with smashed guitars on it. And we had a really good vibe where we did Folsom Prison and The Gambler and Rhinestone Cowboy with a rock and roll feel. We took songs like Back in the Saddle, Aerosmith. So anything that had to do with saddles or the West or cowboys, modern day cowboy, wanted dead or alive, things like that all made sense, right? To just go, let's combine these cool classic country songs that everyone loved with some good rock and roll. And as long as the theme throughout all of the songs is the same, we'll have something. And it was pretty cool. Hairball got busy. We started growing. Our costumes were getting better. More people were coming to the shows. And it got to a point where it was like, you got to focus on one thing, and that's the thing that the money's coming in on. And so we said, well, we'll worry about the Dead Cowboys later, in which the other guys in the band over the years lost interest in it, and I never did, because it was my idea to do, because I grew up a Kiss fan and a Waylon fan, and like a lot of people my age, the Americana of growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, everybody was ingesting the great movies like Convoy, Smokey and the Bandit, The Dukes of Hazzard, Evel Knievel. And so I would go around my house all the time because my dad was from Tennessee, and I would be listening to Kiss and he'd be like, "Oh, aren't you listening to some country songs and learning real music?"
Right.
So we'd listen to some Waylon and Johnny Cash, and I would always think, what if Kiss was a country band or something? And throughout life, I always thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What if we added a little gasoline to Waylon Jennings' fire?
Right.
And what could we get? So I never lost touch of that, because it's who I am. It's part of me. I didn't have to like, oh, I want to create something. It's just, I'm just doing what I grew up loving. And I knew that if there's other people that are my age, they obviously grew up Kiss fans. They loved Evel Knievel. And anytime Smokey and the Bandit's on, they're not changing the channel, even if it's the end of the movie. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to put together the Dead Cowboys again, but I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to write music. I'm going to take my best songs that I've written over the years and maybe write some new ones and try to come up with something original and see what it does. And at that point, we were just called the Dead Cowboys. And trying to get all that to work, it became kind of an issue online, because I trademarked the name way back when we first started the Dead Cowboys. I said it's way too cool to lose risking. So I trademarked it. But in the meantime, other bands around the country who didn't look at that were calling themselves the Dead Cowboys. So when we released the album last June, people would Google Dead Cowboys and not always be brought to my website and stuff. So the management and the label, we did some research for a few months, and it made more sense to call it Bobby Jensen and the Dead Cowboys, or just Bobby Jensen, I think is the way it's heading, and call the album title Dead Cowboys.
Right.
Made more sense. And a lot of it had to do with, I could have went after the bands and said, hey, cease and desist and whatever, but it wouldn't take away what's out there online already in the World Wide Web, that, there's just things that you can't delete. So the information, like in the stories on Facebook, you would click the song and it would go to a different band called the Dead Cowboys. Like, well, I can't sell records doing this. And
Right.
and they're getting, info. So one of our studies was going back to the hair fire thing. I have tens of thousands of views on that. There's millions of views on that. And it all goes to the Bobby Jensen page. And we noticed that everybody was interested in what's going on Bobby Jensen's page, but all of us, myself, you, everyone, were really it's unlikely that we'll click a link hey, check out what he's doing now, because we get involved with the squirrel or the dog barks, you look out the window and you scroll on to the next thing. It's like, let's just call it Bobby Jensen and put the album where people are stopping.
Right.
So we went with that, and that's what we rebranded. We're back out, and people obviously like the shows because last year I think we only did 4 or 5. This year we've got 20 shows booked so far. There's another 20 that are tentative, and we're getting ready to finish up recording album number 2 and getting that out.
Excellent. Very, very cool. Well,
Yeah.
it's also a little bit about the new track here. You got an animated video out for the new track, The Lake, which is really, really cool. I was checking that out. So, can you give us a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, that was done by Andy if I'm saying his name right, Pilkington, and he put together his company, himself and whoever else he works with, did the Judas Priest Painkiller lyric video, and they've done all kinds of stuff, Wasp, Metallica, Motorhead, and he did the first single that we had, Bad Friends and Good Times, and Super Country Cowboy, and we were talking about what should we do for the next song, what is it going to be. And I told him when I was writing the songs and recording them, a lot of them felt like they could continue into more of a theme, or the stories could continue, even though they weren't written that way. It just felt like, hey, these kind of make sense in this order, right?
Right. Could it be a continuity of, different storytelling through the record? Yeah.
Right. I wasn't putting together a concept album or anything, but we were like, I said, these 4 would fit together if we did this, and have you done anything like that? And he loved the idea of doing a continuation. And so obviously the lake starts out with the Dead Cowboys, and they blow up the bridge and rob the train, and they're not going after people's silver and gold, they're going after their souls. So I thought that should be how we start this. This is how you're going to get your fill of what's coming.
Yeah, definitely very cool. I've been watching the video, and you get that that old westy theme going through it, and just the graphics, really, really cool. It's like a comic book come alive.
Yeah, he did a great job, and the first few videos were more, I guess I would call them just pictures that moved with the song lyrics and whatever. But this one, there's the animation, the heads turning, it's really cool, everything that's going on, and each one gets better. The next one is a song that's not on the album, it's separate, called The Devil You Know, and that's the transition between the lake and the demon Desperado. And it gets cool because that's where the Dead Cowboys kill the preacher's family, and he's ready to die, he's bleeding to death in the street, and he sells his soul to the devil so that he can go kill the Dead Cowboys. So it gets really good. And then the next one after that's Mexico, where he's now a bad guy and he's got to run. Does he make it? Oh, stay tuned, folks, we'll find out.
Right. Tune in next week, like they used to say on the TV shows, right?
Right. And that goes back to the things I liked growing up as a kid, the story songs of like The Gambler. That's what we all loved. And then when you put heavy music like Kiss or Iron Maiden style playing behind it, it really opens it up to something else, and it's a good time.
Yeah, definitely some great tracks. Very, very cool. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about your history, some of what I was reading here. So you've also worked with Alice Cooper's nonprofit Solid Rock Teen Centers for 12 years. You built an Alice Cooper theme show, Alice Cooper and the Alice Cooper Show, with the assistance from Alice Cooper's prop builders and costume team. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what drew you to that charity.
Well, he played with us in HAIRBALL, and it was cool. He hired the band to play his charity, and that's when we got to play with Alice and Rob Halford, and all the real rock stars came out to play, and he basically had us be the backup band. And that was pretty cool. And I grew up in a foster home, so I could relate to the kids that he's helping. And so I was like, hey, man, whatever I can do to be part of this beyond doing this show, I'd love to do. And it's important that the kids see somebody who was them playing arenas. It's like, you can do it. So got into it, and the props and all that stuff all came up unwillingly. I didn't want to do it at all. A couple of the guys who were on the crew for the band for a long time, I did an Alice skit in Hairball. It was, a very cool skit. It's 10, 15 minutes long. And I had a decent guillotine way back. And they're like, hey, you got all this stuff and you do Alice very well. It would be cool to do an Alice Cooper tribute band. And this went on for years. And I said, no, I won't do it. I did the Kiss one because you can play, and you've probably seen Kiss tribute bands playing the Small Bar and Grill or playing a House of Blues, and they can play anywhere on a little corner stage and still be Kiss because you've got 4 guys who are interesting enough, and you got a smoking guitar, you got a fire breather, and the costumes are interesting enough, right? But I said, there's no way that you can pull off an Alice Cooper show, which is, I'm all about the showbiz. I'm a show business guy. I'm not a musician. I'm in the entertainment business.
Right.
So I look at things, is it going to be entertaining for somebody to sit through this? Because I'd get about 10 minutes and I'd be grabbing some popcorn and leaving. And the last thing I wanted to do was be set up next to the popcorn machine. So I used the excuse that unless I can do it as big as Alice, I'm not interested in it, because I want to be able to put on the show, tell the story for 90 minutes like he does. If you pay attention to his song layout, he's every tour he's telling a story, and at the end of it, the character dies and he gets resurrected and comes back. And I thought, there's no way you can do this in a club, and he doesn't have enough songs that are hits where you can play to anybody unless you're doing the show. If somebody can't watch the show and they're listening to music 3 or 4 songs in a row they haven't never heard in their life, they're going to get bored and leave, or they just won't come. So I said, there's no way I'm doing it unless I can do his show, and there's no way we'd ever get to do that. And one morning, my guy says, hey, we should really do this Cooper thing. I'm telling you, it'd be great. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. I said, right. I know how to end this right now. So I sent a text to Cheryl, Alice's wife.
Right.
And I said, hey, would it be okay if I contacted the company who made the guillotine and made the Frank and Alice and had them make one for me, knowing they're going to come back and go, I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
This is going to be the end of my argument. I'm finally going to win. And I'm just waiting for her to go, Alice thinks that'd be cool, but we'd love to help you, but we can't.
Right.
She got back to me in less than 5 minutes and said, Alice thinks that's a great idea and wondered why you haven't done it yet. And I looked to the sky. I looked at God. I went, no.
Even Alice Cooper wants you to do a tribute
I'm like,
to him.
No, I don't want to do this because, he went on the air before we did the benefit with him. And he's like, they were asking him, well, what's it like being with this Alice Cooper impersonator in Hairball? And he said, he does Alice as well as I do. You've got to come see him, which I thought that's the greatest thing somebody's ever said and the worst, because now he just threw me to his fans.
Right. Now they're sizing you up. You better be as good, right?
Now I have to be good. I'm like, son of a bitch, everything was good until now. So, long story longer, I contact the guys who who made the Frank and Alice and the guillotine, and they checked with Alice and everybody, and they're like, okay, and they make the stuff. And I told the guys, I said, okay, here's the deal. We can't do this and just say, hey, look at us, we're great. Alice let us have a guillotine and a Frank and Alice,
Right.
and go around and say we're the best Alice Cooper band because now we have this. It was like, it has to be bigger than that. What we need to do now, because he has said to do that, is we need to give back. So let's make this band the representative of Solid Rock Teen Center, and everything we go out and do, we'll send the profits back to them. So that's what we did.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the first year we did a Christmas show. He does a Christmas show every year.
Right, the Christmas pudding show, yeah.
Yeah, the pudding. So we called ours the Christmas fruitcake. And you can see that online on the Almost Cooper page. And Alice did the ad for us, telling people to come to the show. And he signed guitars, he signed the guillotine heads, sent all kinds of stuff up for us to auction and do as giveaways. And we raised $10,000 at that show, and I brought it down to him.
That's amazing. Yes. So much. I've heard so much good stuff about him, with how he's with his fans, how he's with other musicians. He's given so many guitarists, have come through his ranks and risen up. You know what I mean? All of these different things that he's contributed to. It's just amazing that he's still doing it today. He's still crushing it.
Well, and he's so nice. He's so nice. And when you meet the people who are the top, I guess is the word, echelon of the music business, these metal gods, all of them, Rob Halford, Gene Simmons, and no matter what he wants to pretend he's like in an interview, and Alice, they're all very nice people when you're actually sitting with them. The first time I ever had guacamole, it was at Alice's house. And he's like, are you hungry? And I go, here, you got to try this guacamole. He is a food pusher. like nobody's business. I went to church with him, and he's handing candy over, out of his pocket, Alice's pocket candy at church, So it's been very nice, and I feel very fortunate to have become friends beyond the music with them, to where, you can get a phone call now and then of just how are you doing and stuff like that. And he's in the past sent me stuff in the mail. He sent an 8x10 of himself and said, now remember, Bob, almost, right? Because we're almost Cooper. And then he sent some of his $1 billion baby money. That's, guy's got a great sense of humor. So
yeah, very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the folks in your current band, what's going on with there. So let's talk about, you got, looks like General Collins here on pedal steel guitar.
Yeah, these are all people that I've picked up and put on this new leg of the tour. None of them played on the album, but they're going to play the shows, and they're a really great band, and they don't mess around. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, very cool. Who else do you have on here? Yeah, Jordan Abhold on bass.
Yeah.
Natalie Irish and Adam Ferris on drums, it looks like, for you.
Yeah. So,
very cool. So it looks like you're starting out in, I think, March. You got your schedule, looks like, out here. That's when you guys are going to be heading out and starting your shows?
Yep, and we're calling it the Back to the Bar and Grill, where we're focusing, instead of playing the theaters and stuff that we did on the last run, like, let's go even smaller. Let's go right back to the basics of where we all got our start, and that's in the Bar and Grill. So we're calling it Back to the Bar and Grill Tour, and we're finding the shittiest places that still have stages for bands, and going in, and I think most of our shows are there. We've got some outdoor events and stuff like that too, but I'm really looking forward to getting into those places again, and because I hadn't played a bar and grill in 25 years. Once HAIRBALL got going, we were on a tour bus and playing arenas and casinos. So it's a lot of fun and a lot different. And I like the intimacy where they're right in your face in a bar and grill.
Right.
Almost.
Yep. A lot of audiences like that, a little bit more intimate, up close and stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, and I think that'll be good to help build the fan base a little bit too. It's like we're all in this together. It kind of like a basement party. You know, those, how many of those did you go to?
Back in the day, quite a few, quite a few.
Right. I mean, that's where I got my start in rock bands. We were playing in the basement or in the garage, and in every garage and every basement, like a lot of other musicians, to me was Madison Square Garden. I played that shit like I meant it, because I did, you know, and still do today. So what's it going to be like to revisit that? I think we should probably get a couple of kegs and actually have a basement party. And you know, you're a
That's
lot
the
older
next
now.
tour. That's what you call your next tour, right? The basement party tour. There you go. All right.
The Tap the Keg tour. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, man. So cool to speak with you. All right. The album Bobby Jensen, Dead Cowboys, is available and streaming now, folks. And you can check out the show dates at BobbyJensenUSA.com. All right. All right. So cool. And also, we don't want to forget to mention, we'll have links to the video for the link in our Hall of Videos at TalkingAboutRock.com. All right.
Man.
All
Check
right.
it
So that
all
wraps up this episode. Thank you to my guest, Bobby Jensen, and to our listeners. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Bobby, again, man, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, rock on. Thanks.